The Q101 Morning Crew.
On Q101.
1952 North Lincoln, banging on the doors.
True Crime Tuesdays with Brian and Kenzie. This actually happened.
I'll make sure my camera.
Listen, this is, I love this because Kenzie brings a crime story, an Illinois, Chicago / crime story to us every week around this time. And I don't know what it is. Case the producer doesn't know what it is. And sometimes, we've heard of these things, and you guys maybe have too, but you don't know the results or the new information. So I can't wait. So, Kenzie, I'm just giving it to you to take it and shock us.
Okay, are you ready now?
I am.
Do you know the name Lorraine Kirkley?
I don't. So right off the bat, I don't know the story.
No. Case, have you ever heard that name?
No, unfamiliar with that lady.
This is more in your neck of the woods, Case. This story is coming at us from Valpo, Indiana.
Heyo.
Our neighbors.
Indiana, the birth state of Case.
Yeah.
That's what they say. That's the sign when you drive in now.
It's Case. Very Casey.
Used to be Crossroads of America. Now it's like, Case is from here.
Yeah. It's a very bad time for Indiana right now.
We've had better days. It's not great.
Oh, my goodness. Well, Lorraine has also had better days. So Lorraine Kirkley was actually just described as the sweetest woman. She had really high cheekbones, this cute little red haircut.
All right.
Just the sweetest. She was 34 years old, married to a loving husband, Robert Kirkley, and the couple lived in Valparaiso, Indiana. And a little backstory on Lorraine, just so you can understand her character,
okay,
right, and who she was. So Lorraine had grown up on a farm and graduated as valedictorian at Caston High School in Fulton, okay? She was working towards her master's degree on top of that. She led a local youth group and played piano at her church. And she was, at the time, working at Porter Memorial Hospital. And her husband were getting really excited because her husband had just gotten a new job and they were going to move to South Bend, Indiana, because he'd gotten a job as an engineer. Ooh. And they were going to start trying for a family.
Sounds picture perfect Hallmark movie right now.
Absolutely. She was just a sweetheart, truly loved by all of her family and friends, great relationship with her husband, and just was really just going for that like simple family life, just truly put value and stock in that, which is obviously just so sweet and very endearing. So July 21st, 1999, Lorraine woke up in the morning. She did the dishes. She vacuumed the home. She loved having everything neat for when her husband would come home. And she did all that before leaving for her shift. She was just like organized and on it, right? Now, from that shift, she should have returned home at 5 p.m. Her husband got home from work, expecting to be welcomed, by his lovely, very cheery wife. But instead, the house was empty. There was a bloody knife in the kitchen sink.
Oh, my God.
There was blood on the floor. And his wife's undergarments and clothing had been ripped out of the dresser in their bedroom, like ones that were packed away in the dresser. Drawers were open and thrown around the room as if somebody was like packing in a hurry.
Okay.
Very, very odd setups here. Like those are almost two different scenes. Like someone's packing, and then also there's blood. But then nothing else in the house was ruined. Very odd, right? Because if you're being chased or something through the house, you think they would have spread across the whole thing. Yeah. So very, very odd setup in the house.
Okay.
Now another layer to this is several months prior to her husband coming home and seeing a bloody knife, a bloody floor, and clothes thrown everywhere throughout their bedroom. They had actually been burglarized.
So stuff was stolen.
So they were burglarized. And oddly enough, a Valentine's Day card and a sexually explicit picture, not including a face, had been left behind for Lorraine.
Really?
And everyone thought it was weird. But again, this was 1999, and they were in a smaller community, much like several stories we've talked about. It was kind of the unlocked door policy. So people were like, are they just harassing with us, messing with us? Like, okay, some weird guy stole some things. It was very odd, right?
Okay.
So it didn't get as heavily pursued as I think it would now, the level of severity.
So all that picture was there with all the other stuff, with the underwear and the bloody knife. And then
No, this was the several months earlier.
Oh, months earlier. Okay, I got it.
Several months earlier, they
Okay.
had been burglarized.
Got
A
it.
Valentine's Day card and sexually explicit picture, excluding a person's face, so it wasn't like a whole body thing.
Pam
had
Anderson, maybe? I don't know.
Right. No, it was definitely a guy.
Okay.
Had been left behind for Lorraine. And obviously, once this happened, now several months later, bloody knife, clothes thrown everywhere, the cops had immediately assumed that these would be connected.
Sure. Got it. Okay.
All
I'm
right.
intrigued.
Right? Now, within a week, detectives were able to focus on one of Lorraine's coworkers. They were honing in on him.
Oh, it's always one of those.
Malinsky was an exercise physiologist.
His name's just Malinsky?
That's all it said.
Malinsky.
An exercise physiologist. I was more worried about getting that word correct.
You got it. Good job.
Okay, thank you.
And also, that also leads to maybe him putting a nice body picture of himself, right? If that's the guy they're thinking of, like the picture I assume looked
I don't
really
know
good.
if you have to be in good shape. I've seen trainers be out of shape before.
Oh,
Think
not
about that.
Not a good trainer.
Have you ever seen that at the gym?
Yeah, it's weird.
And I'm like, I don't know if you'd be my go-to.
Yeah.
I'm not body shaming, but if I'm here for a specific reason,
Yeah.
You and I are on the same page. I'm here for a different reason. So I don't know about these exercise physiologists. I don't know what they
You
put.
and me should just go to a brunch.
Yeah.
You're looking pretty good there.
I feel like you're already somebody I'd hang out with.
Yeah.
I'm looking for something different.
Yeah.
Okay. Anywho, so the exercise physiologist also worked at the hospital. He had been brought in for questioning, right? During the questioning, he admitted to being the person who had burglarized the Kirkley's homes months before.
Uh-oh.
He admitted to it, that he left the letter and left the sexually explicit picture. However, Malinsky claims him and Lorraine were actually having an affair together.
Ooh.
And they had planned to run away. They planted the blood in the house. They planted the knife.
Whoa.
The clothes were thrown about because they were packing. They burned her car because they couldn't find the car.
What?
They
Damn.
started the car on fire, but he got so nervous as they were doing this that he backed out and Lorraine ran away by herself.
This is his story.
This is what he's saying.
Pretty good.
And that
In
is
a
why
pinch, you know?
that is why he left such intimate items at the house previously, because they were having a relationship.
Okay. I don't like what happened here necessarily, but I like the story so far. I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know who's dead or alive or what.
So we're gonna pause there.
Oh no!
Yes.
No.
Yes. This is a good spot.
Ah.
This is a good spot.
Okay.
Okay. We'll come back. We'll recap, and you will get a conclusion. I want to say, because sometimes these end in a mystery.
Yup.
This one got solved and not that long ago. So you will get a final conclusion on this.
And it started in '99. So you're saying
Started in 99.
in the last year or so, it's been solved.
No, earlier than that. But I just felt like,
Okay.
so we've done some from way back when. So
Okay.
this got solved not super long ago.
Okay.
Around the time of your Twisted Christmas anniversary shirt.
That's right. 2003. There we
that
go.
zone.
That's right. Okay. So the conclusion, when we come back here at 8:45, don't go anywhere.
The Q101 Morning Crew.
On Q101.
The Q101 Morning Crew.
On Q101.
1952 North Lincoln, banging on the doors.
True Crime Tuesdays with Brian and Kenzie. This actually happened.
I'll make sure my family's home.
Okay, so Kenzie has laid out just about 10 minutes ago this story that's got me so intrigued. She'll do a recap in a sec. There's tons of texts coming in at 312-591-8300 about this story, and I'm not reading any of them because I want to, from Kenzie, I want to know exactly what happened, and I'm so intrigued. So give us a quick recap of where we're at.
Yeah, so if you are just tuning in, Lorraine Kirkley lived in Valparaiso, Indiana, with her loving husband. She was 34 years old. She grew up on a farm, graduated valedictorian, played piano at her church, and worked at her local hospital. So just really good, wholesome girl, right? And was in a very happy marriage. They're actually starting to try to have a family. On July 21st, 1999, Lorraine went to work in the morning, and when her husband got home at night expecting to see her because she gets back before him, he actually saw an empty house with a bloody knife in the kitchen sink, blood on the floor, and clothes that had been taken out of the dresser, clothes, intimate ones as well as regular clothes, and they were thrown around the room as if somebody was packing or looking for something.
Yeah.
Several months prior to this, their home had actually been burglarized, and a Valentine's Day letter and a sexual explicit picture of a man without a face was left both for Lorraine. But this was at a simpler time. That would send one of us. You have to think that back then a lot of these crimes had happened.
Right.
No one got hurt. They're like, oh, this person's just a weirdo. Now,
Can I ask a dumb question real quick?
yes.
When you say without a face, sexually explicit photo without a face, no head in the picture or face cut off?
I believe it was just a penile pic. I believe.
Okay, all right,
I
I'll
could be
follow.
wrong because I couldn't find the picture anywhere. But
Oh, I bet you looked.
I did. Because I wanted to post it on our Instagram.
Just a penile pic. I follow. Thank you.
Yep. So based off the descriptions in the news articles, that's what I gathered. But again, I never got to see it. So if somebody's like, I knew the detective and there was more,
Yeah.
that's what I gathered.
Did they describe the penile in the newspaper articles?
That's it.
It was along those lines.
The penile was bald.
They were like, they just talked about it being
You sound like Walter Cronkite.
sexually explicit.
And that's the rest of the story.
It was a naked mole rat.
So what we don't know right now is she alive? Is Malinsky the guy that you let it? I don't want to take your thing there on the setup, but he was the guy that was having an affair with her.
Now listen, wait, you
Oh,
jumped a lot.
I jumped too far?
You
Okay,
jumped
I'm
way too
sorry,
much.
my bad.
So that burglary happened several months earlier. The cops were immediately able to kind of hone in within a week on one of Lorraine's coworkers at the hospital, Malinsky, who you just referenced. He was an exercise physiologist, and he claimed, yes, he was the one who burglarized the home, but they were having an affair. That's why he left the Valentine's Day card and the picture. It was kind of mess with the husband because he wanted Lorraine.
Yeah.
And they had been having an affair, and that they had planned to run off together. Mind you, a little bit different times, probably a little judgier on the divorce front than things are now. So he claimed that they were going to run away together, and they staged the home. That's why there was clothes thrown around. They had staged the blood. That's why it was in very specific spots, and they had blown up her car because her car was also missing. But he got so scared after staging all these things, he got nervous, and she ran away without him. That is what Malinsky's claiming.
That's his story. And just before you continue, this happened in Valpo, and him and and her husband were going to move to South Bend.
Yeah, so this happened in Valparaiso, Indiana. Her and her husband were planning to move to South Bend because her husband, Robert, had just received an upgraded job as an engineer, and they were very excited and wanted to start a family. Okay.
Yeah, there's so many texts coming in about this.
I know. Now, that is the quick recap. If you missed before the break, that is the condensed version.
Got it.
So we're going to take it up from there.
Oh, boy.
Now, Malinsky was detained because during questioning, he had admitted that he was the one who burglarized the home. So that's enough to hold him. That's enough evidence to keep him around for a bit longer, correct?
Yep.
Because they had suspicion, obviously, that he had something to do with this, and they hadn't found Lorraine yet.
Sure.
So while being detained, 2 inmates actually snitched on Malinsky.
Wow.
2 other inmates turned in Malinsky because he had been bragging about how he was actually hiding incriminating photos. And these inmates went to investigators and said, listen, this guy's got photos proving he did the crime. They told on him.
What?
Yeah, he was gossiping amongst what he thought was
Malinsky.
fellow criminals.
Come on, bro.
Let me tell you something. When you are awaiting trial, not a great idea to be like, well, guess what I have.
And this happens a lot. Guys get that bored when they're waiting for trial and they say, I did it.
I don't know if he thought he was amongst, fellow criminals, and it's like, hey, guess what I got? Like, they're all going to share stuff. But I think these guys were like, if I give you this info, could I bounce? Because he's twisted and I am not. So
Is that a quote? That's a transcript?
That's what they said.
That's where I empathize with him because, like, if I did a big crime, if I did something devilish, mischievous, I would want people to know about it. I would share it, and I would hope that my prison mates have my back.
Yeah. Oh, you guys robbed a 7-Eleven in Whiting? Guess what I did?
Yeah, and
Not good.
check this out.
Not good.
Oh, that sucks. I feel
Wow.
bad for the guy now.
Do you? That's an interesting take.
He's also got a Scooby-Doo villain name, Malinsky.
Yeah.
Malinsky did it.
I don't think you guys are taking him serious enough.
No, listen,
Not a great guy.
so where we're at now is he admitted to inmates. Inmates said, this guy, you got it twisted.
That he was hiding pictures
Yeah.
that were absolutely 100% incriminating.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Now, detectives finally then realized there was something to look for. He's got pictures hidden somewhere.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what evidence you're looking for when you're looking for evidence. It could be anything. So they got to hone in. They were able to find the images. And they were of Lorraine, and she was bound and gagged in the photos.
Holy crap.
So he took pictures of it.
This a-hole.
Don't like that.
Yeah,
Malinsky.
well, thank you, Case, for finally deciding you don't like him. When the case finally hit trial, it took a jury a mere 2 hours to find Malinsky guilty. He was sentenced to 155 years in prison.
Wow.
With no possibility of parole.
Good. And I could be wrong, but I think Indiana has the death penalty.
Oh, I
Still,
don't know.
I think they still have it. I could be wrong, but
Okay.
he should have got it.
Even though the killer had been sentenced, her body had yet to be discovered. He was still denying this crime and saying that she ran off and they were lovers.
Interesting.
He stuck with that story, and the family was distraught. Her father spoke out in May of 2000. Now is where we are at time-wise at the sentencing hearing, and said, "I feel like I'm hanging on a rope and swinging in the breeze. We never know one day to the next whether we're going to find her." And then her husband, Robert, was so broke down at the same hearing that he had to hand his statement to one of the deputies, Todd Schellenberger, who had to read it out loud for him.
Wow.
Because he just couldn't handle it. And he
course.
said, "Personally, I've been destroyed down to my foundation. Were it not for my faith, I would have given up long ago." He buried her in an unmarked grave like an animal. "I know of no punishment in our legal system that is severe enough. That will have to be left to the perfect judge that he will have to face when we leave this life."
Jeez.
So he was just so emotional, of course,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Because there's only so much peace to be found.
Right.
The uncertainty after this man went away, Malinsky, the uncertainty of where she was buried or where her body was haunted family, friends, and even detectives who would drive past her house almost on a daily basis
Sure,
in this
in
small
Valpo,
community. They said they couldn't pass the house and go like, where is she? After working on this case. Now that changed September 16th, 2005.
Oh, geez. So 5 more years later.
5 more years later, Malinsky finally confessed.
Whoa.
This entire time, he had been denying it, claiming they were having an affair, and he even tried to appeal the case multiple times, which got thrown out. But in September 16th, 2005, he confessed and told the family where the body was. He claimed he buried her on his family's 17-acre farm.
In Valpo area or somewhere?
Yes.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, in the Indiana area.
Wow.
In the Indiana area. So he had buried her there. Now, they had wanted to look on this farm many times. I'm sure people are like, how could you not check the 17-acre farm?
Sure.
They had been denied the right for a warrant to search the whole property. Because it was his family's farm, not his.
Interesting.
So they had been denied the right. So with his confession, they were finally granted the right to check the property. Okay? September 30th. So you're talking less than 15 days later. It was a cold autumn day in a lightly wooded area on the property he had said Lorraine was found. Now, within the grave was a newspaper that had been printed 2 years after her disappearance, which is very strange because if somebody unburied her, threw that in, had somebody found it, was somebody else in on it, I don't know. But in there was a newspaper 2 years after she had disappeared.
That's weird.
Inside the grave. Had it been moved? I don't know.
Damn.
And they still to this day don't have the answer to that, but they know who killed her. They know where her body is. And just several days after she was taken out of the unmarked grave, she was finally reburied by her family and friends. Over 200 people attended the candlelit memorial for Lorraine, and her parents were still alive to be part of that.
Oof. Wow.
Right?
That's fascinating.
So there's still a little mystery there
Yeah.
with the newspaper, but beyond that,
Total conclusion on this one, unlike some of your other ones where they don't
Yes.
know, there's no ending. Wow, good job, Kenzie. Good job.
Thank you.
I'd never heard that story, and there's a lot of people checking in. Now I can look at some of the texts, like Lala checked in. Totally mind blown. I'm from Valpo. I live 20 minutes from there. Worked there for 6 years. I think she's talking about the hospital.
Yes.
What was it called again? The hospital?
The hospital name. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make. I didn't
No,
make it
sorry.
look at it.
I have a lot of notes. I want to make sure that I get her hospital name. The Porter Memorial Hospital.
Porter Memorial. Also, double features. Mike checked in when Case said he represents Indiana. They said, "Hey, the double features are from Valpo. Damn it!" They texted in to say that it's not just don't
not just
represent.
Case.
Indiana can't represent.
I like how
Case
they were
can't
fighting
rep it.
about if they're more famous.
I was gonna say,
during this.
I don't know if I want to claim Valpo as my own after this story. I'm never gonna be able to drive through there the same way again.
I know. It is weird. I'm going to think about this every time I go through Valpo.
Yeah.
When I go there often.
I know. So, R.I.P. to Lorraine Kirkley. We obviously feel for her family. I would imagine a lot of them are still around because, again, this just came to conclusion in 2005. So I'm really happy that they finally got the peace that they deserved.
Yeah. Well, wow. Great job.
Thank you.
Every Tuesday, right around 8:20, we start this. And if you missed it, if you just joined us right now and you're wondering how we got here, just go to the podcast, Q101.com, the Brian and Kenzie Morning Crew podcast. That's where we started in the 8 o'clock hour to hear the whole story again.
The Q101 Morning Crew.
On Q101.